If you have not already watched video 1 for the Systems tab overview, please watch it first. It has very important information you will need to know on how to program the bot. Reverse sleepers, a system that will wait X times for a category to repeat, then place a bet on all the bets in that category except the one that has repeated. So right now everything is grayed out. We'll click Enable System to use this system. And as an example, if I check off dozens and set to 3, if the first dozen repeated 3 times in a row, like say number 1, 5, and 8, then what it would do is place a bet on the second dozen and the third dozen. So it's the exact opposite of the sleepers. Okay, and you have over here your progression area where you can use the pull down menu. There's only 4 categories for reverse sleepers. Let's go to streets. Now I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to put the bankroll a bit higher. I'm just going to put 10,000. Now it stopped at 143 bankroll on the second bet because you would reach the table limit to go any higher. But what happens if you don't want to use such a large progression? Well, I have made a feature called recovery. To enable it, you would check off here. So if you lose on the first sequence or your first bet, it would take the amount it would normally bet on sequence 2 and divide it up over the next 3 bets in this case, because you have 3 entered in under the first recovery. If you lose during the first recovery period, it will then take the amount you have lost and divide that bet up over the number you have put into the second recovery period. This helps prevent large drawdowns that can happen while using the reverse sleeper system. Also, when you have this checked off, the progression window will not change, but it will apply these options. So for example, on streets, I like to use a number of 3 on the first one, and if you lose, it's quite a bit to make up, so I would actually enter that number at 6. Another example is lines. I would put that at 3 and maybe that one at 5, because you don't have to make back quite as much when you lose with the lines as you do with the streets. Now you may have noticed when I switch categories, it kept the numbers you had entered in for that particular category. So for streets we have 3 and 6. For lines we have 3 and 5. If we go to the dozens or columns, it's not enabled, so the numbers is not there. So remember, this recovery option changes with each different category. Now, when we go to the manual progressions, it works just the same as the sleepers, the same idea, entering in the bankroll, saving the progressions, loading them, deleting them, and also manually setting your own progressions in the progression table. It's all the same as the sleepers. Let's take a look at the super singles. Okay, let's enable this. Now, super singles is my own proprietary betting system I've developed that uses flat bets with no progressions. So first we have numbers in history to use. That is the amount of numbers in the spin history you want to collect your data from. So you might want to put 100, 1000, 10, whatever you like. Numbers to bet on. It's not like the actual number, like I'm betting on number 5. This is okay, I'm going to bet on 5 numbers, I'm going to bet on 15 numbers. Tracking rules. Are you going to bet on super sleepers, which are numbers that have never come up? In this particular case, where you have 15 numbers to bet on in a 100 number spin history, more than likely you are not going to have 15 numbers that have never come up. You may have 3 or 4, but regardless, even if you had 14, the trigger of 15 has not been hit. Therefore, it's never going to place any bets and just keep cycling as per the cycle options. Now, anytime your targets have not been hit, it's not going to trigger a bet, and it's just going to continue on until you do hit your trigger. Now, another note, if this was at 4 and after the 100 spin history you had, say, 6 numbers that have never come up, actual super sleepers, and say those numbers were 8, 2, 32, 33, 1, and 23, the program will arrange them in numerical order and pick the first 4. So it would pick 1, 2, 8, and 23, and numbers 32 and 33 would not be picked. So it just puts them in numerical order and then continues on. Sleepers, which are the numbers that have come up the fewest amount of times. Repeaters, the numbers that have come up the most amount of times. It doesn't necessarily mean an actual repeat, like number 5 has come up 2 times in a row, so that's an actual repeat. It just means those numbers have come up the most amount of times in your number history. So for example, if you set your number history to 6 and you only wanted to bet on 6 numbers, and then the spin came 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, on the 7th time it's going to place a bet on numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because those are the numbers that have come up the most. Now, using the same example with 6 and 6, if you bet on sleepers and numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 came up, it's going to select 6 random numbers that are not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because those numbers have not come up. So you can also pick a combination of sleepers and repeaters, and it will place 50% of the bets on sleepers and 50% of the bets on repeaters. Win rules. Now, any of the win rules always follow the cycle option rules, which I'll go over in just a minute. So, times to bet until win. If you enter in 10, it will keep betting until it wins, or if you have not won within 10 bets, it will follow the cycle options. Rule of 35. Since a single number straight up pays 35 to 1, what I did is taken the number 35 and divided it by the amount of numbers you're going to bet on. So if this number changes, then that number also changes. If you select bet until win, it will just keep betting until you win, and then once again follow the cycle options. So for cycle options, restart cycle after win. Let's put this to 10. Numbers to collect 100, so it's going to collect 100 spins of data. Then it will place and bet on 10 numbers. Now it's going to bet until it wins, and if it doesn't win by the 10th time, it's going to restart the cycle. So it will clear all the bets, collect another 100 spins of data, and then place bets on 10 numbers, and it will keep going like that over and over and over. Do not restart cycle after win. This option looks backwards through the number history, searching for more tracking rules. When it meets the tracking rule targets, it will then start a new session right after the amount of bets in the win rules has been met. So in this case, if it wins or doesn't win within 10 spins, it will look back through the most recent 100 spins and place bets on 10 numbers right away. Dynamic betting cycle constantly looks at the most current numbers in the number history, and if the tracking rule targets have been met, it will place bets. With this option checked, you will get a lot of betting action and your bets will be changing frequently. This concludes the overview video for the Systems tab. There's a lot of information in video 1 and 2, and if you need to, please watch them over again to answer any questions you may have.